We're here at Massey in Pukekohe talking all things to do with cue sports. Marco Teutscher, the Dutch master, is with me, ranked number 23 in the world, an extraordinary player. Now, you'll be familiar with this. This is the common cue that you've probably used growing up as a kid, found in most pool halls or motels, camping grounds, or probably at friends' places. But like all sport, if you do want to progress, if you do want to perform, you've got to make sure you've got the right equipment. And that's what we want to talk about today. What is the right cue for you? How do you progress? And what are the price points? Marco, my understanding is that a cue can start anywhere from $100 and go right up to $5,000.
That's correct. So a bit of the difference between the cues, of course. Now this is like a standard house cue, that's what we call it. Quite straightforward, it's like there's nothing like, usually there's no balance of the cue. It's quite, they're usually quite heavy. Most of them are not even straight. Even the tip, usually it's quite like a basic tip that I put on. So the tip is usually quite hard. So when you actually think about spending money for cues, it can be quite hard because you're not sure how much you want to spend.
I just want to make a point here. You can't buy performance, can you? If you're going to spend $5,000 on a cue, you're suddenly not going to be number 24 in the world, are you?
No, definitely not. I mean, of course, equipment helps. Yeah. But it doesn't. It's not like you just buy an expensive cue and you will be playing better.
So, what does, say, a good cue give you that, say, a regular, let's call it a bad cue, gives you?
I mean, with like between like when you talk about like a couple of $100 between 100 and maybe like 500, 400. Of course, you have like there's more time and work in the balance of the cue. So there's like a bit more balance. Usually they're quite solid maple shafts they put on. So it's a bit about the feel. And the good thing is between having your own cue is that you always play with the same weight, of course.
Yeah, and so what, they don't tend to go out of shape?
No. And it's like, but if you buy a cue, like the one that you like, of course, then every time you play with the same cue, so it makes a big difference, of course.
In a lot of sports, one thing that you always see is trying to reduce weight. Yeah. Are you looking for a lighter cue, or what are you looking for in a good cue?
I mean, it depends on the players. I would say a lot of amateur players usually like to go for heavier cues. I think the higher range players that usually go from maybe 17 or 18 ounce cues. But yeah, it depends on the player, and it's all
Now we've got this cue over here which starts to get towards the top end.
Yeah.
This is not wood, it's not maple, this is in fact carbon fibre, which seems to be, well, it's revolutionised a lot of sports. So what's the difference between, say, carbon fibre and a good quality wood?
I mean, like Predator is right now is like, I would say, the top brand in the world when it comes to cues. The carbon fiber shaft is a low technology, a low deflection shaft, so it's a high technology shaft. That means like when you play with a lot of spin on the white ball, it doesn't really move out of the line. When you play with, say, for example, right spin, the white ball moves to the left. So with the low deflection shafts, it means like when you play with spin and you just hit it like to a straight line, it would have moved the line out of the line. So that's like, of course, a big benefit when you try to play spin and you have to adjust on your aiming point as well. So yeah.
And what about the cue tip? How much technology in, say, the last inch of the cue?
I mean, that's another thing. Like, it all depends on the player. So the player and the stroke. So some people that punch a bit more and they like to go for a softer tip. So they're all different, like hardness of the tip. So you have like a soft, medium, and hard.
So you can buy a cue, but the tip itself is something that you can apply no matter what cue it is.
So a lot of people that just buy a cue and then just change the tip to like a softer tip, or so you don't have that option with a house cue, of course.
Now, what about durability? So someone says, okay, I'm going to fork out $500. They've had to convince their family. Their partner that it's money well spent. How long should a good cue last you?
Oh, that lasts you forever. It's like, it all depends how you look after it, So if you look after your cue, it will last you forever. Yeah, and another thing, of course, about like the differences. So like when you're thinking about spending a couple of $100 on a cue, usually you don't look at like low deflection shafts. So that means like when you play with spin, it will move out of the line. So yeah, when you talk about like around over $500, you can look after you can have like low deflection shots. So it's like that's the technology you're after.
A lot of people in all sports always look at the colour and look at the way
Yep.
they present themselves.
Yep.
They want to look cool, feel good.
Yep.
Is there some merit in that?
Yeah, so like usually with what I said with the lower range cues, they're usually it's not inlay, so like it's usually like a kind of a sticker or something like that they put on just to get the nice designs. Yeah, so what you see with this cue, this is like this is one of the high range cues of Predator, and that means like they're all made by hand and it's all like actually inlay, so it's all like little things that I put into the cue, so it's a lot of craftsmanship.
Yeah.
So,
So a beginner spending say $1,000 or $5,000 on a cue,
Yeah.
can it be detrimental to them? Can the cue be too good for the level of player?
No, not really. No, I would say no, I don't think so. I mean, it all depends on the person. But I would say if you have the money and it's a hobby, then just spend it.
So there you have it. You can spend anywhere from $100 to $5,000 on a cue. But look, if you are thinking about taking the sport more seriously, you do need good equipment. At the end of the day though, it still comes down to practice. It still comes down to mastering the technical aspects. But a good pull cue will take out some of that guesswork and hopefully allow you to enjoy the game just that little bit more.